This is the Morning Sports Desk for Thursday, August 24th. Well, Corey, it's deja vu all over again. The Twins bullpen implodes and they lose in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's almost like they're a 500 baseball team, proven yet once again, given just being handed the division on a silver platter, all they need to do is beat teams that they're supposed to beat, and lo and behold,
right,
they can't.
It's not like the Twins had multiple leads throughout the game and could score 7 runs throughout the ball game. Their bullpen imploded again, and it's a weird weather circumstance yesterday. Everybody had like heat stroke yesterday.
Pretty hot
because apparently Milwaukee has a retractable roof stadium, as a lot of teams do in the South, for air conditioning purposes, so teams aren't dying of heat stroke out there. And the Brewers do not have that, for a little obvious.
Oh, they do. Their roof retracts.
Yeah, they don't have air conditioning.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so instead of hotboxing everybody, they had the roof partially closed.
Sure.
Yeah, so everybody would their umpires midway through the game who had to get a whole new pouch of baseballs because their sweat was going through their pants and the
gross.
pouch. Yeah, it was disgusting. It was not a good time for everyone involved. So you can also chalk it up to it just being a weird game. But also at the same time, the Twins were in position to win said weird game multiple times. So it's almost like the Twins should have traded for somebody at the deadline to help the bullpen. Nah, I'm sure they got it. Brock Stewart was coming back. Oh, wait. Never mind. They knew Brock Stewart wasn't coming back to help the bullpen before the trade deadline. And, here's the thing about the Twins with this bullpen. They could have done anything this offseason, but they kept taking flyers on guys who had injury history, and lo and behold, they all got hurt.
Yep. That all sounds right.
Yeah.
They're a 500 baseball team, CJ. They win their games at home. They lose on the road.
Yeah. Did you see?
I expect them to play very well against Texas. I really do. They're at home. These games now are at home the next 4 days. There's no reason. They're a 500 baseball team. I don't know what else to. It's pretty straightforward,
The Seattle Mariners have had 2 different 8-game winning streaks this month. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's amazing.
They've slingshot themselves. They sold at the trade deadline. They slingshot themselves back into – they're within a game and a half, I think, of the AL West.
Well, what's-his-face is the hottest player on planet Earth, right?
Julio Rodriguez had 20 hits in 3 games or something like that. It's almost no joke. It's been crazy. And, so they're back in that mix.
Did they lose those 8 games in between there?
That was what I said. I said an 8-game winning streak, not followed by an 8-game losing streak. What is this? Yeah, this is not the baseball I'm used to watching.
Wow.
So the Twins find themselves in a bit of a bullpen rut. Now they have, if that shouldn't concern you, the Texas Rangers are one of the best offenses in the American League. So,
yeah, good luck.
Good luck, everyone. Good luck to everyone involved.
The lead in the division only dropped to 4.5.
Yeah.
Because Cleveland must have had off last night.
No, they had off on Monday night. They beat the Dodgers last night.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
Cleveland beat the Dodgers.
Yep.
You mean the other red hot team in baseball?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
No, that bodes well.
Yeah. Well, here's my take on this. I'm going to assume as if the Twins are winning this division. People are like, but what if they don't? I'm like, well, then we can call for some people to be fired.
It's not like we haven't seen that happen before, right? Twins made one of the greatest comebacks ever to win the division not that long ago in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Stands to reason they could lose it too.
They could. But I'm gonna play the odds. I'm gonna play the long game. And if they don't, if they somehow blow it, then we need to look in the mirror and have some.
It's not like it wouldn't be obvious, or it's not like we wouldn't know the reasons why. You know what?
No, exactly. Yeah.
It wouldn't be this stunning. I know they have a 95% chance of winning the division, but it's not like it would be this stunning downfall of what happened to the Minnesota Twins.
What happened to this juggernaut? Yeah.
Yeah, right. They've kind of just been who It's what the Bill Parcells line is: "You are what your record says you are."
Mm-hmm.
And Denny Green said, "We are who they thought they were." Like, all of those things are very true about the Twins this year.
Very much in play. So speaking of a couple football references, Corey, Vikings training camp shenanigans are back. They have joint practices with the Arizona Cardinals, which, have been kind of going. It really has. Like, the Cardinals aren't a good football team. Certainly not as good as the Titans. And Kyler Murray is still rehabbing a torn ACL. So the Cardinal offense is led by Colt McCoy.
Nice.
Everybody's favorite to be a backup quarterback until you actually have to watch him play.
Yeah.
And then you want him gone forever. So
he's a good appropriate backup for Kyler.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's like a B squad version of what Kyler can do.
Yeah.
I like when backups fit what the starter kind of is.
Yeah. Nick Mullins, kind of that same prototype for Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
Very standard, but paint by numbers pocket passer.
Correct.
Kind of deal. It's like when RG3 was backing up Lamar Jackson. It was just kind of,
You don't want to have to completely change your offense if your quarterback goes out. You kind of want to keep things roughly the same.
Case Keenum backing up Josh Allen for a little bit.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. The training camp shenanigans are almost nothing to do really with on the field stuff at this point. The first topic to get to business is, Corey, TJ Hockenson talks, according to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, they're far apart in negotiations. And this is the nugget that I think is most important, because they can always come together on negotiations. But where Hockenson stands is Hockenson wants to, quote unquote, reset the market for tight ends. And so basically that means he wants to be the highest paid tight end of all time, which means in the league currently. So, Corey, let me give you some numbers. This is according to overthecap.com. Of the top, let's just go top 3 paid tight ends in football. Number 3 is Travis Kelce. His average annual value of his contract is $14.3 million per season. And then you get up to George Kittle of the 49ers. He makes $15 million a year. The top paid tight end in football is Darren Waller of the Giants. He got traded from Las Vegas to New York. I think they signed him to an extension. Thus, he leads the league, makes $17 million in tight end money. Mm-hmm. If you're Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, are you comfortable paying TJ Hockenson $18 to $20 million a year for the next 4 to 5 years?
It depends. Is Kirk Cousins your quarterback next year and beyond?
And that's the thing. I think if you gave the Vikings truth serum, I think if you kind of said, gun to your head, is Kirk Cousins on the roster next year? They'll probably tell you no. Like, the only thing keeping Kirk on the roster is another 13-win season and winning a playoff game, right? Like, he has to play it phenomenally well. So I'm going to assume, for the sake of this argument, that Kirk Cousins is not the quarterback next year. They do draft a rookie quarterback. And
I think that's fair. So I think that has a large impact on all of this.
Yeah.
Hawkinson's better than Waller.
Yeah, 100%.
He is probably better now than Kittle, but not historically. Kittle's a better tight end historically. But Kittle's just been around a little long. Hawkinson's probably a better tight end now than Kittle is.
Or at least close enough to
where. Or at least close enough, right? It historically that you would never say that. Travis Kelce is the second greatest tight end of all time, and he's not that far away where statistically you would just never be able to deny some of his offensive numbers. I don't know where Kelce is on his restructuring, re-signing, anything like that. He will be the greatest paid tight end of all time. No one is rooting harder for Hockenson to reset the market. No one's rooting harder for that than Kelce.
Travis Kelce becomes a free agent in 2026
because he's going to change some things.
Yeah,
for the tight end market. All of that being said, this is just they're gonna sign him. Like, he's practicing. He's just not doing team stuff. He's there every single day in a uniform doing his individual work. There's nothing else to talk about, in my opinion. I know he did this interview. I know he said he wants to reset the market, blah, 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 blah. He is there every single day in uniform. he's gonna be a Viking.
See, I tend to believe that an extension will get worked out at some point. It's where he said the quote unquote reset the market that kind of makes me pause of, does Kwesi, because you're going to have to pay Justin Jefferson at some point. And if you want to look at overthecap.com numbers, Tyreek Hill, in terms of average annual value, is paid $30 million a year. So you're going to have to commit to paying $30 million a year to, or more, likely more, to Justin Jefferson. And then also have to pay close to $20 million a year for Hockenson. So your top two offensive pass catchers are going to be making close to $50 million of the team's salary cap. And looking at the Vikings in terms of 2024, let's say, there's some cap space available if Kirk Cousins isn't on your roster, but it's just the Vikings have been working kind of the last couple years to shed capital and to shed salary cap to try and get them some financial flexibility that they really haven't had since they signed Kirk Cousins. And that'll be the interesting part. Now, the reason is, like we talked about with the Twins, and always wanting to be flexible so you can make that move. And I always said during the winter that, like, you always make yourself financially flexible to go get a guy like Correa. And that's the whole thing of, like, you make yourself financially flexible so you can sign TJ Hockenson to an extension. And so I think that, like you said, Corey, I think an extension does eventually get done. I feel like, though, there's no incentive for Hockenson to sign an extension this offseason. So he could totally just play it out and he could still be a Viking next year. So I was very confident an extension would get done before the regular season. I think I'm less than 50% sure that he will sign an extension at some point in 2023.
But does that mean he'll play, or you mean
he'll play? But, like, if you're wanting to lock him down long term.
Yeah. No, I mean, all of that's true, but also think about who else is going to be, who's making a lot of money on this roster, who's not going to be for much long. Like, Harrison Smith is a day and a half away from retiring. I don't know where his contract sits, but that's coming off the books in less than 5 years, right?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, with the
Danielle Hunter is coming off the books in, like, there's some big number. Things open up. That's part of this. Also, they just signed, the NFL did this YouTube deal, so we don't know what that means for contract numbers.
That's also true.
And things like that. See what's happening behind you right
now. I try and ignore them.
But, like, those are all things that need to be taken into account as well. And on top of it, it's not like an extension. Do the Vikings need to sign Hockenson to 7 years?
No, I mean,
can it be a 2-year with a third year? Like, that's the part I can't.
It depends on what Hockenson wants, I guess. It's kind of the meat of the middle part.
Sure, reset the market and make it a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
Or a 2-year deal. Who cares?
Last question while I got you in here, Corey. This needs to be talked about. Yesterday, the San Francisco 49ers announced Sam Darnold is the backup to Brock Purdy, which means that Marshall, Minnesota native, NDSU alum Trey Lance, the former number 3 overall pick, is likely not going to be on the roster for San Francisco. And this has led the trade speculation to go through the roof. And it's been noted by Diana Rossini of The Athletic and Ian Rappaport of NFL Network yesterday. Everyone's like, keep in mind, the Vikings this offseason were very close to trading for Trey Lance. So do you think that a Trey Lance trade happens, and do you think it should happen?
I mean, do I think it will happen? Yeah, sure, maybe. I don't know. If the Vikings are actually interested, and we know their quarterback is coming off the books here at the end of the season, and the guy that they just drafted is probably not going to be the guy because that's just how it works. Yeah, probably. I could see them taking a flyer on a guy who's got all the talent in the world and was taken as high as he was for all of that upside. Has been a little unlucky with some injuries. He wasn't ready to play NFL football yet, probably.
No, he definitely wasn't. He definitely declared too early.
And do these ties just exist because he's a Minnesota kid?
I think on social media for fans, yeah, it totally exists because he's a Minnesota NDSU guy.
I don't need him on my team, but if they get him, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Would you give up like a 5th round pick for him? Would you give up a 6th round pick? Would you give up a 2nd round pick?
Yeah, I mean, when? Yeah, maybe. I don't. Yeah, whatever. I'm not like he could be good, but he probably it won't be. You know what I mean? Like that's just a part of how this works for quarterbacks and NFLers. That right. It might not work out for him. He wasn't ready yet. He's got a lot to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need him on the roster. I don't need him, but if you get him, cool, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Corey Tackman, ladies and gentlemen. My take on this whole situation is I think that the Vikings probably won't trade for him. I think at this point, if we're talking, the Vikings tried to before the draft. And I think before the draft, there's a lot more compelling case to make that would have worked. But weirdly enough, now that the Vikings roster is kind of set for this year, they drafted a kid out of BYU in like the 6th round. But like Corey said, he's not really going to come of anything. Jaren Hall, whatever. He's a non-starter. Like they're not doing it. He's a developmental backup at best. But I think the Vikings trading for a Trey Lance. I'm not going to trade like probably a 4th or 5th round pick. Like, and are the 49ers, are they looking for a 1st round pick back? Are they looking for a 7th round pick? What's their price range? I think that has yet to be seen. But the thing is with the Vikings, if you're Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, if you're the general manager, and I don't mean like, I'm just saying it from his perspective. Is he the quarterback you want to sign up for? Because most GMs don't get to pick multiple quarterbacks. If you're going to move on from Kirk Cousins to Trey Lance, you better be right. And if you're going to, because if you're Kwesi, it's probably a lot easier or simpler or in his better interest to draft a quarterback next year and kind of reset, because that guy comes in with a fresh slate. Trey Lance, whether rightly or wrongly, because again, he's still very, very young, needs development. He's had some injury concerns. And those are things that people are already going to be talking about. Whereas if you draft a quarterback, you don't necessarily have that. There's no baggage, I guess I would say. And again, it's not his fault, but it's that kind of thing. So I don't know. In my gut, I don't think the Vikings trade for Trey Lance. I think this is something that they were close to. And I think it's something that, maybe could have been a thing at some point, but the NFL is all about timing. And I think that the time for that probably is past. And I think if you're Kevin O'Connell, maybe you want to do it. He's a backup. Kevin O'Connell was a career backup quarterback. Maybe he sees something in Trey Lance or feels like he can fix him or do whatever. Maybe that does happen, but I don't see it happening. He'll go somewhere. He'll be fine, but I don't see it happening in Minnesota. But I've also been wrong before, so who knows? This has been the Morning Sports Desk for Thursday, August 24th. Minnesota News Network, I'm Brent Paul. A 6-year-old girl from St. Paul is the first